Hello everybody, how are you?
Good.
Can you hear me okay? Did you all come in the one taxi? We'll have to get a bigger bus the next time. So my name is Frances MacArdle, and I'm one of the family who own Hike for Hire. So Hike for Hire is a family business started in the 70s by my father. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about safety and sustainability when you're working at height. I'll give you a quick overview of who we are, what we do, how we implemented Lean and tried to have a look at how we could make ourselves greener. I'm going to look at some innovations in the new market and then some safety information on MEWPs and where you can source further information on health and safety policies for moves. So Hike for Hire is, we rent and sell cherry pickers, I suppose is the simplest way to put it. We have 15 locations, over 2,000 machines and 175 employees. The company was started back in the late 70s. My father was in waste disposal. He had skips, he had tankers and he had water jetting. And he got a break in a local factory up in Drogheda, we're from outside Drogheda, to clean out the chimneys, and he couldn't get up to them. He was trying to get up to clean them out. So he bought a small van mount, and that's a picture of it there. There's 8 children in the family. I don't know if he has a photograph of every one of us when we were born, but he has a photograph of his first MEWP. He then in 1980 got a contract in Auchinish Alumina down in Limerick, and the fleet expanded up to 6 machines, and we were involved in the building of Auchinish, and that spurred him on to open the first depot outside of Drogheda in Limerick. Then as the reputation grew, we moved our head office from Drogheda up to Dublin, and 2 things happened. Labour got expensive in the 80s, and safety standards got stricter. So as a result, MEWPs looked like a very viable option against scaffolding because it was going to be cost effective to use machinery rather than labour to put up scaffolding. We then opened in Belfast in the 90s, then into Glasgow, and then right down across the UK. 2005 we went into Central Europe, and we have locations in Slovakia and Hungary. So that's what our map looks like now. 5 locations in Ireland, 5 locations in the UK, and 5 locations in Central Europe. And this spread gives us a good overview of what's happening, not only in Ireland, but in the UK, and what's coming down the tracks from Europe as well. So 35 years of knowledge, and we're constantly innovating and evolving. We're not only in construction, we do a lot of film and events work. Anybody recognise this? Any U2 fans here? It's the U2 claw going up. We do a lot of wind maintenance, wind turbine maintenance, and we have the largest fleet of big truck mounts, 90-metre truck mounts in the UK. And we follow the work. We're like nomads. We could be in Scotland one week, west of Ireland another. We travel around the place with these large machines. We also looked at facilities management, and this is one of our machines working in London, doing a night shift to do maintenance on the glass, and we also run spider machines. These spiders are very specialised. Track them up by remote control, and then you position them by pulling out the outriggers. So this is a case study. We had a call from the London Olympics, Athletes Village. The scaffolding in an atrium had been taken down before the work was completed, and they needed to get a machine up 170 feet in a hurry. So with millimetres to spare, you can see the machine going in through a double doors, and then you set it up on outriggers and it went up to the full height. So they just simply didn't have the time to put the scaffold back up. Rope access wasn't going to be an option in this particular location. So this is the type of work that we do. Off screen from the photograph there's a big pot of Vaseline that they used around the doorway to squeeze her in. In terms of environmental issues, every time we put a machine out on hire, we have to wash it. And when you're washing down over 2,000 machines in and out of hire, that's a lot of water. So we decided to put rainwater harvesting on the roof of our building, and this was one of the green initiatives we had. So we're catching the water in the gutters of the roof and storing it in a tank. And then we also put in a biological treatment plant. So we catch 85% of the water that we use for washing the machines, and we put it through the biological treatment plant, and that means we can reuse it to wash the machines again. We were successful in getting funding from Enterprise Ireland, and we implemented Lean. And this helped us with our sustainability and with our green thinking, and it led us to take baseline measurements of how we do things. And this meant that we rearranged put one-way systems into our yards, we put different types of signage, we painted the floor different colours so people would know where to position different items on the plant. And we found that it was very helpful with staff development. One of the things that came out of Lean was a 24-hour technical support line. A lot of the calls we were receiving from our customers in terms of breakdowns turned out to be operator error. So we drive in a service van 2 hours out to a site to pull out the emergency stops, or to change the position of a key, or to tell somebody that they had forgotten to plug the machine in the night before to charge the batteries. So now we have a bank of armchair fitters, and if any customer has a problem, there's a free telephone number. They ring that number and they get straight through to a service engineer, fitter, who can talk them through what the problem is. Now we still end up sending engineers out to site, of course, because machinery will have problems, but we're doing a large number of phone fixes. Between 30 and 40% of the calls tend to be fixable over the phone. So customers are quite happy with this support that the operators are getting, because the machinery is getting more complicated, it's getting more limit switches, more sensors on them, so people need assistance because they're not that familiar with every single model. Other things that came out of Lean, where we put all of our PDIs, our pre-delivery inspections, all of our 6-month checks are done digitally on tablets. So we have full traceability on every machine that we have, and it also means that the availability of the machinery is showing up as live on our system. So this is a label we put on all our machines, free phone number for the operator from anywhere in the UK or Ireland, 24-hour, 7 days a week technical support cover. And a lot of our customers are writing this into their rescue planning and their backup emergency planning, because the first person that you should call is us if you have any difficulty with the machine, and we can talk you through the problems. We put a QR code on every machine that we have, and with free software you can scan the code and get a 6-month certificate for that machine, any specification sheets, operator manuals, so that is available without having to contact the office. You can just download them directly yourself. A lot of safety people that we've dealt with like this. We also put in place a Net Promoter Score, so that we were ringing customers, getting feedback, and figuring out what we could do better to help. So in terms of sustainability, we looked at getting lower carbon, lower CO2 vehicles. We changed the design of some of our trailers so that we could maximise the loads, and we also centralised our transport. So all of our transport for Ireland is arranged through Ashburn, near Dublin, all of our transport for England is arranged through Manchester, and this maximises the loading on the machinery, and it also lowers our CO2 emissions. Then we thought, what if we could leave the low loader out of the delivery process, because it's quite expensive for customers as well to have to pay for haulage, and it's not something we like having to charge for. So we innovated and started putting 20-metre booms on van chassis. Now the significance of this, there's nothing new about having truck mounts, but what is new about this is that you can drive them on a car licence because they weigh less than 3.5 tonnes. So the customer now can pick this up, collect it themselves, leave it back themselves, so there's no cost for transport, and because the van chassis are quite lightweight, the CO2 emissions are much lower than you'd have on a low loader. So it's saving money for the customer, and it's a greener option as well. So this is just, they can be driven on a car licence. We also brought them closer to customers. We have lift and drop points right across the country. So even though we have 5 locations, 5 main depots, we have self-drive promoters all over the country who can go and meet you somewhere and hand over one of these self-drive 20 metres to you. We then looked at how we could be more sustainable in terms of getting products that were more energy efficient, and we came up with this France elevator-made machine, which is a van that charges a gel battery as it's driving. Then the lifting function runs off the gel batteries, and this is something that as you drive the machine, you're actually charging the batteries, then you're running the batteries from running the lifting from the batteries, and then when you drive the machine back to your base, the batteries are charging up, so you don't have to worry about plugging them in. And these are becoming quite popular with customers who have a green agenda or green targets. So our experience of becoming leaner and greener was that the time invested was worthwhile. As I say, we did get funding from Enterprise Ireland, so if any of you think that it's something you're interested in doing, have a look at the options there. Our business became more effective. We feel that it improved customer experience and enhanced our reputation. And it has opened up new markets, especially on the self-drive. People who would never have thought of renting a cherry picker are now renting these self-drive machines, particularly the smaller builders, farmers, these type of people. So I just want to talk a little bit about health and safety issues. I'm going to kick off with a fatality on a scissor lift over in London a couple of years ago, where a man who was working in a scissor lift leaned over the control for going up and down, and as he leaned over his chest on it, it started to raise the machine up. And before he could lift his body off the control, his shoulders got trapped under an overhead structure. So the more his shoulders were trapped on the overhead structure, the more he leaned down on the controls. So you can imagine he's being compressed between the control panel and the overhead structure. The most tragic thing about this, in my opinion, is that his work colleague was standing beside him at the ground controls. And he wasn't familiar with the machine, so he couldn't get it down. So you can imagine the trauma for him to stand and watch his colleague getting crushed to death, and there was nothing he could do. He just couldn't figure out how to lower the machine. When the health and safety executive investigated it, they focused on 3 areas. They said there was a lack of training, they said there was a lack of machine familiarisation, and there was a lack of emergency planning. And for those of you who might have MEWPs in your workplaces, I suppose you need to think about, if that happened on your workplace, would there be someone nearby on the ground level who could get it down? Would they be familiar enough with the model to get it down? And this is part of what our technical support is there to do, is to assist people to formulate their emergency planning. So the first thing that was thrown up by the report was training. Training on MEWPs is legally required but unregulated. So it really is a case of buyer beware. IPAF is an international awarding body which some companies are heading towards. So if you're interested in informational training, and here's my plug, come and see us at the Height for Hire stand, and we'll tell you all about the IPAF and Height for Hire training. The other thing, even when your guys have been trained, you need to think about familiarization, because the control panels are different on every make and model. There's no standardization in MEWP manufacturing. So you have somebody on a scissor lift on a Monday, a different machine on a Wednesday, a different machine on a Friday, and they have a ticket for all these machines, but they may not necessarily be familiar with the control panel or the ground.